This video is brought to you by Heatcraft Refrigeration.
So we got a call on a beer or a wing walk-in. So it's kind of like a hybrid freezer, runs at like 20 something degrees, not working. So in service mode, that's odd. I wonder if someone was up there playing with it. It shouldn't be in service mode. Let's get a ladder up here and get up into that Intelligen display. There's something funky going on here because it's really difficult to put these into service mode without the passwords and stuff. So I can't see the customer doing that. Who knows? We shouldn't really be in service mode. Again, you have to have the password to get into service mode. So let's go ahead and try to take it out. Exiting service mode. Is it that simple? What are the odds? This is odd. Sometimes you run into some weird stuff out here. Let's give it a second. Should be popping out by now. I'm thinking there's a little bit more to this because this thing should already be exiting out of service mode by now. This is newer equipment too. We installed this equipment like maybe in the last 6 months. So, I mean, I don't see any damage really to the board. It's odd. Exiting service mode, please wait. This is very odd. There's clearly something wrong. It's been probably like 4 minutes since I clicked exit service mode and it's still exiting service mode, please wait. So something's going on. Something happened here. So what we're gonna do is start by checking voltages and make sure that all of our connections are good. Sensors shouldn't really have an effect on it. This is our board voltage right here. Should be 24 volts. Let me get a meter out there and see if I can probe that and make sure we've got the right voltage. So this is my 24 volt transformer right here. Looks like we've got proper voltage, 26 volts. Make sure my transformer's tapped right. It is. I don't think we have 240 volts here. I think we're running 208, but we'll verify that. Yeah. All signs are pointing to an issue with the board in reality. That's very strange. And our transformer is tapped right. We've got 212 volts. So we're definitely closer to 208. So that's good. Interesting. And it just reverted back to in service mode. So it tries to come out of service mode, but it just stops. So yeah, that's a problem. I'm leaning towards a problem with the board. Or possibly the display. That's very interesting. So we've got good connections right here. Don't see any issues there. Nice tight, 24 volt connections going to the board. Nothing's funky there. We've got no door switch on this. Nothing to put it into service mode externally. Everything else is just outputs right here. Heaters, EEV, sensors, transducer, I think. It's either, yeah, A15, this is transducer. So really you've just got your 24 volt input. That's odd. So what happens if we disconnect it, disconnect power, and then reconnect? Let's let it die out, wait for the LED light to go out, because I've got an LED light, okay. It's gone. Okay. Now let's see what happens. Looks like it's trying now. EEV is calibrating. Something's wrong here. Yeah, something's funky. That was very interesting. This should be lit up. I don't know if it's a board. It could be this guy right here. That's very interesting. So this guy, when I disconnected power 24 volts to the board, this guy did not turn back on. Then I disconnected this ribbon cable and now it turned back on. So let's do basic pin. Service mode. We need to get out of service mode. Why are we in service mode? Monitor, box settings, exit. Let's try this again. So the question is it the human interface or is it the board that's the problem? Something's going on here. I have my contractor kit here. You get this, I mean, you can buy all these parts, but when you go through the certified contractor program, you get this little kit that's kind of handy. Comes with all the needed parts most of the time. So I have a main board here. I don't have a human interface with me, but I actually have one at the shop. So if I need to, I can run over there and get it. But I think since I have this, we're gonna try the board, see if that fixes the problem. If it doesn't, then we'll have to go get a human interface. All right, swapped out the board. So let's go ahead and get this guy plugged in. There you go. We are hooked up. Enter expert pin. So we're basically setting up the board now, like a new startup. Configure from evaporator, yes. Discovering the equipment, continue. Freezer, yes. Primary evap, condensed unit wired, no. United States. Just going through the setup. So it's basically just a complete setup, daylight savings time. Now, today is 2025. February 17th. And it is 8:30 a.m. Refrigerant is 448A. I just happen to know that because I installed the equipment a while back. EXV's Corel, that is correct. Air defrost, we're going to go to medium temp electric defrost. We're going to do timed. Box temp set point is 26 degrees, I believe. We'll confirm that with the manager before we're done. Start system, monitor. So now we're just in a hold pattern while it's starting everything up. And in a few minutes, the fan should turn on, and then we'll watch the unit operate and see if this solves our problem. It's kind of a crazy story while we're waiting for this to start up. Well, first off, because this is a freezer coil, the fans aren't going to turn on until the coil gets cold enough. So it's got to reach a certain set point to try to reduce the load on the box. So that's a whole other thing. That's why the fans aren't running yet. If I selected air defrost, then it probably would have turned the fans on immediately. But because it's a medium temp electric defrost, it runs at like 26 degrees, just below freezing. That's why. But you notice the box. You notice that like the ceiling's completely rotted out, just disintegrating. The customer's actually replacing this entire walk-in box. They have a custom ordered box being made right now. And we also condemned the equipment. And in the meantime, they got new equipment. They shipped it to us. They bought it themselves and had us install it. And then the plan is when they have the box replaced, they're going to have us uninstall this equipment, reinstall it in the new box. So that's why it's polishing a turd putting this new fancy stuff in this old box, is because they just needed functioning equipment that didn't have, refrigerant leaks basically. So we're actually in the process. It's not us, we're not doing the install because we don't do walk-in boxes. They've got a general contractor that specializes in restaurant stuff coming in to do it. And then we'll just uninstall and reinstall when they're done building the box basically. But yeah, this whole box, the floor is all jacked up, the rubber floor underneath is completely separating and everything, so it's just trashed. But yeah, so we're just waiting for this delay. And the EEV just opened. So the fans, once the coil gets cold enough, the condensing unit will turn on. So if we hit monitor, we can actually see coil temp. So we're in a delay. There's the fans. That's a good sign. Superheat's gonna start dropping as the EV opens up. That's a good sign. And now we just gotta watch the box come down to temp. So it seems like the problem was within our board, but I mean, in theory, it could be the human interface that was the problem too. So we're gonna have to watch this for a little bit just to make sure we don't run into any more problems here. Originally, I thought maybe the customer had been messing with it, but it doesn't look like that because they would have had to have the PIN numbers and they don't know that stuff. So it looks like we just had a bad board, possibly. So like I said, we're gonna watch it for a little bit and see what else happens. We'll definitely get onto the roof here in a bit too and check out the rooftop equipment. Come up to the roof. Don't see any problems up here. We're running a clear sight glass. Everything looks good. Nothing jumping out at me saying there's a problem up here, which up here wouldn't affect refrigeration. I mean, wouldn't affect the board really. So yeah, I don't see any big things jumping out at me. Nothing funky going on in the electrical section. Everything looks good down there. It's interesting, but it's running now that I changed the board, so we're gonna watch it for a little bit longer. The unit pumped down. I haven't been downstairs to see what the temp is, but a good thing that I'm noticing by watching it pump down is that the pressure control is set right and it's not cycling on and off, on and off, on and off. And this one doesn't have a time delay, so that means that we have the pressure control set right. So let's go downstairs and see what the box temp is. Seems like it's nice and cold in here. It says box temp is 28 degrees right there. I think we're good to go. Set point's 26, so it's about to turn on. Off currently because it's satisfied. Interesting. So I think that we just had a bad board. What's really interesting though is there's nothing like, I looked at the back of the board and stuff, there's no water intrusion, doesn't look like there's anything weird going on with the back or anything like that. We'll definitely have to turn it in for warranty because this is a brand new box, brand new coil, but yeah, all's looking good so far. We're gonna watch it a little bit longer. You always wanna make sure you're watching these things come down to temp. It says 26 degrees, 28 degrees, that's the set point, okay? But if you look at this thermometer, we're only hitting 32 degrees. And I have that positioned in a way where it's just pushed through the insulation just a little bit, just to hold it in place. But we're off by a few degrees on this. So we might have a sensor problem too, but we're gonna give it a few minutes and watch it. But you always wanna just look big here, you know? Think about the big picture. Always, as much as you can within reason, watch the box operate, make sure every function is working as best as possible. You saw how when I was on the roof, I was looking at the pump down. Look, you know, I watched it pump down and then watched it make sure it didn't, you know, short cycle, on, off, on, off, on, off. It's big picture stuff, right? Just observing and just watching the system operate. I went ahead and shut down the power to this. And one thing that I really like about these Heatcraft coils is they come with an extra sensor. It's usually mounted right on that back wall. Mine was mounted on that bottom screw right there. So if you need a sensor, you got one right here and you can swap it out. So we're gonna swap out this box temperature sensor because it's reading quite a few degrees off the yellow one up top. Running these new sensors is super easy. Just pulling them through the little knockouts inside the coil right here, plug it in. Now the white one is a replacement sensor. It's not yellow anymore, but just mount it up into here to where it's getting air temp, secure it with some zip ties. We're gonna go turn power back on and make sure everything else is working proper with it. So I can't stress enough, big picture, right? You don't rush through these things because there could be more than one problem. This potentially could have turned into, you just fixed it, but it's still not maintaining temp, and well, the sensor was way off, you know? Now, if it's 1 to 2 degrees, I might offset it, but this was quite a few more degrees than that, so clearly there was something going on with the sensor. So let's turn it on and make sure that everything else is working proper. Oftentimes when I make these videos, you guys are hearing the inner ramblings of my brain, and you know, I don't have intentions of making a full tutorial of how I do things. So oftentimes things happen in my head without me vocalizing them or showing them. Get the point, right? One of the very important things is to make sure that your thermometers that you're using as a reference are calibrated. Ice water, these ones are calibratable if need be, but I had already checked that. I just didn't show it on video, and I thought maybe it was an important thing that I should show, because if I'm changing a sensor because it's 5-6 degrees off, well, what happens if my thermometer is 5-6 degrees off? So always start with checking the accuracy of the test instruments that you're using within reason. And you can see we're at 32.5 and we're at 32.6. So now we are accurate as far as the sensor reading. And the customer wanted me to go ahead and set it for 28 degrees with a 2-degree differential, so they're basically going to maintain 30 degrees in the box. That's what they want. So that's where we have it set point. Box set point is 28 degrees, and we have a 2-degree differential. If I can see it right here, superheat temps 8, coil temp, suction. I know there's a way to see the differential, but I'm not seeing it right now, but I know it's at 2 degrees because I've seen it already. So yeah, it's in the settings, but I made sure everything's good. So we are good to go. Customer's going to be happy that they have a working, functioning box. As far as why the board failed, I don't really know at this point, but nothing's jumping out at me saying there's a problem. The transformer's tapped right. We didn't have any loose connections. Nothing really is going on that tells me that's what caused the board to fail, so we'll just have to tell them to keep an eye on it. And yeah, we'll go from there. I'll file a warranty claim through Heatcraft to get the board replaced, and all should be well.
This particular call was interesting because after they turned off the camera and after I started talking to Heatcraft about warrantying the board, we actually found out that there is a workaround to having to change the circuit board on this system. And actually it's just simply a firmware update a good majority of the time. So had I had the firmware with me when I got this service call, in theory, when it was stuck in service mode, I could have done a firmware update and I could have potentially eliminated the need to have to change the circuit board. Heatcraft has realized that because of some changes that they made in preparation for an A2L transition, they activated a spare terminal on that board, and they've realized that in certain situations that spare terminal, due to moisture issues, can short itself, and if it shorts itself, then the unit goes into service mode and it kind of gets stuck in service mode, okay? So the solution is to do the firmware update. It's going to roll back a little bit on that spare terminal, turn off the service switch function for the terminal, of which you can still turn it back on if you needed to. They've also made some changes to the circuit board itself because they found that at the bottom where the terminals come out of the board, that they started adding some silicone down there to help prevent moisture from shorting across those terminals. Now, the way that it was set up essentially was it was looking for the first time that you shorted across those terminals, kind of like having a service switch or a door switch on there, and then it would throw itself into the service mode like it was in this video. They've since corrected that and come up with a solution, done some better waterproofing basically of the board, and with the firmware update, we're able to, potentially stop that problem. So in my situation, I had already changed the board, but in theory, had I had the USB flash drive with the firmware on it, we probably could have eliminated the need to have to change that board. So if you go over to the website intelligen.heatcraftrpd.com, you can navigate to the download section, and there's full instructions on how to do the firmware update, what you need. It's a special flash drive and everything. I now have that flash drive, so in future situations where I run into this, I'll be able to do this. So with that being said, I still worked my way through, and there clearly was a problem with the board. What had happened was it got stuck in that service mode. Whatever reason. We think it was just moisture or something. That is a very high humidity environment because the customer is in and out of there all the time. The equipment is slightly oversized. There's a lot of factors that lead into that, and they run into this weird issue, right, where they have this. Now, I personally have never experienced this problem, but, in talking with them, they've said that, there's been a few of them that have happened. And so basically, they want to try to get people to start having that firmware update. And it's actually makes sense because the firmware update also has some other features, gives you more troubleshooting features that it adds to the board and stuff, and different things that you can do. So it's only better to update the firmware on these. I'm very familiar. I deal with this on Manitowoc ice machines too, where we, constantly will be updating the firmware. It fixes a lot of problems and just makes the system operate efficiently. For those of you, I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comments saying, this is why we can't have digital anything. Look, digital's here to stay, okay? Having circuit boards and different things and evaporators is here to stay. It's not going away, okay? It is what it is. We have efficiency mandates from regulatory organizations that we have in, our country, and it is what it is. This stuff is here. It's all about communicating with the factory. By me making phone calls, I'm able to understand like, oh, this is why this happened and this is the solution. Bottom line, I'm there to fix equipment, okay? It is what it is. Like, I don't get all worked up like everybody that, get rid of the digital stuff and just go to conventional systems. Like, okay, but there's problems in those too, okay? Stuff breaks all the time. It's inevitable. There's always going to be issues. That's what our job is. I don't understand why people get so afraid and so upset when they have to fix something that's broken. I mean, we're here to fix things that are broken, It is, again, I just don't understand it. I carry the components that I need. I got my little Heatcraft kit right here that has I actually just had to use that last night again too, because I had a transformer that failed on a system on a walk-in freezer, and, cool, I stock them, So it definitely does benefit understanding, and I can't stress enough, if you guys haven't considered it, you should definitely check out the certified contractor training, because it doesn't make you like the best technician in the world, because you're still going to be a human person, but it gives you that extra edge, that extra advantage, being a certified contractor. So I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. You can go to heatcraftrpd.com, find out more about the certified contractor program under the training links, and find one. Consider checking it out. Yeah, there is a fee involved with it, but you get a lot of value from that, and you get a lot of good information from the training that they provide. Okay, so I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video. Thank you so very much. Check out my website if you haven't already, hvacrvideos.com. We got a lot of merchandise available on there. Great way to help support the channel. Something that a lot of people don't realize we have on there is we have the HVACR Videos flag t-shirt, but in a women's cut. V-neck, smaller sizes for women. We still have, I think, quite a few of them available. We are phasing out t-shirts out of our website, so if you're interested, get them while they're still here, because eventually they're going to be gone. Obviously, we still have hats available on there, of which I just did a restock on the hats because we were basically out of stock. We just did a huge restock, so we've got plenty of inventory going into the spring and the summer. So check out the website again, hvacrvideos.com, for more information. Couple other different things. If you're interested in supporting the channel, I've talked about this many times, the easiest way to do so is watch the videos from beginning to end. That really is. You can also support it monetarily by going to the show notes of this video, and there's going to be links for the PayPal, the Patreon, and the YouTube channel membership methods. Okay, those are all different commitments that you can make to support the channel. Last but not least, if you're interested, go to truetechtools.com. You see some of the tools that I use in my videos. The SC480 field piece meter in this video, picked it up at truetechtools.com. So if you go to their website, you find something that you like, I have an affiliate link which actually works as a discount code for you guys. Big picture, one word. Use that affiliate link. I get a small commission from the order. You get a nice discount on majority of the items on their website. There's a few things it doesn't apply to, but anyways, you guys can figure that out. Thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next one.